I want you to listen up very closely. The foods you are eating are slowing you down, causing you brain fog, fatigue, low focus, low concentration, bad creativity, not getting the peak performance that you want, not getting the flow that you want in your day to day, and ultimately slowing you down and preventing you from getting the dream life and business that you want. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what foods you should be eating, what foods you should avoid, and a step-by-step game plan of how you can navigate all this so it can automatically synchronize into your life. So let's dive into it.
Okay, so here are the foods that are going to be slowing you down the most. So let's start with the biggest ones. The biggest are going to be any forms of gluten and dairy. You want to stay away from these foods, in particular gluten, like the plague. And the reason why is because gluten can be one of the most inflammatory foods in terms of you getting the body of your dreams, in terms of inflammation, which can slow your mind down, give you brain fog, and so many other things. You just don't want gluten in your brain or body, period. And a big reason for this is because when you remove it from your body, you'll notice the difference in about 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I know it's really difficult because gluten seems to be in everything, but trust me, if you navigate it in the right way, which I'm going to be doing in a follow-up video, it's going to be very easy for you. But the focus in this video is going to be what foods just to avoid. And the analogy I want to give you is think about a garden. A garden that is full of weeds. We only want to plant the seeds in a garden once we remove the weeds. We don't want to plant seeds in a garden that are full of weeds, because if that happens, then it's just going to become this jumbled mess. So first we have to remove the weeds, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So we prevent your body from going into a lot of inflammation and all these internal fires that are causing your immune system to go into alert mode and overdrive, and just things you do not want that will cause your body to break down instead of building up and healing and living a life where you can have the sustainable level of energy, just like Bradley Cooper in Limitless, for the rest of your life. So the very basic one is gluten. So you can just Google what gluten-based foods are. It's all in there. Another one is dairy. Dairy can be very difficult for our body to digest. And there's different forms of sensitivities that we have. One is a food sensitivity where we eat it and then it's a delayed reaction where in 2, 3, 4, 5 days, we develop a response where it's inflammation. We feel like we have brain fog. It doesn't feel like we're mentally sharp. We might feel forgetful. We can't remember people's names. When we sit down and focus, we just don't feel like we're on point. We need to drink coffee in order to get mentally, sharp and to focus on the task at hand. But that's an example where we can actually remove these inflammatory things, and we don't need coffee to begin with. So that's how I want you to think about this. So dairy can be either food sensitivity or it can be a food intolerance where it gives you like an upset stomach, physical symptoms, bloating, stuff like that. I want you to think of it more of a sensitivity. Now, the other type of food sort of allergy you can look at is like an anaphylactic shock. And that's where you need to carry an EpiPen, and that's where people have more of a their airway starts to close, their immune system flares up. We're not talking about this here. This is more of a mild version of that, but it is a different mechanism how it does slow you down on a functional level. So dairy could be cow's milk, it could be creams, it could be cheeses, anything to do with that. It's really mixed with a lot of different things too. But with each of these, I want you to try remove these for 4 to 5 weeks and notice how you feel. We'll talk about the exact strategy. Now, there's also ones called others that I said. These are the hidden ones that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of people know about the gluten and they know about the dairy, but let's talk about some of these hidden ones. Now, what you have to understand is our body is really like a system. There's 11 different big systems inside of our body that are all trying to communicate with each other. Now, if they aren't in sync, just like a car, and the gears aren't running properly, the synchronicity between them is not in rhythm and in flow, it's going to cause us to slow down. And a big reason is with the foods we are eating, even though they are considered healthy by mainstream standards, if they are not agreeing with our body, probably for genetic reasons or just in general, then it is also going to slow us down as well. So the big ones I want you to look at is two types of ways we can, remove foods or find out, like, are we actually sensitive to them? The first is doing an IgG blood allergy testing. Then, like I said, this is not the traditional IgE testing, which, anaphylactic shock test for like shellfish, peanuts, where you'll go to a hospital and they'll prick your skin and they'll measure your sort of rash or how big that bump is, and cross-reference that with the allergy that you have. This is instead something that's happening inside of your body. So that's one thing you can do, is an IgG blood allergy test. And this one is good, but it's a little bit, it's difficult to attain sometimes. And there's different forms of allergies that we can have on the food sensitivity level. So one of the best things that I like to do is a food elimination diet and test. And how this looks is we remove all the foods that we could potentially become sensitive to. This is sometimes known as a paleo autoimmune diet. And we do that for 4 to 5 weeks. We will feel and find that our brain fog just clears up, our memory gets better, our focus gets better, our energy starts to come back. We start to put on, muscle, lose weight, inflammation goes down. Maybe you find you have some fat in your face or inflammation in the face. All of this will start to go down with really a short period of time. And what we'll do after that, once we're feeling 10 out of 10, we will bring those foods back in one at a time, and we'll identify and see what foods are we actually sensitive to. The reason why I like doing this form of testing is because it is all subjectively based on how we feel. So looking at the labs, looking at the numbers is amazing, but ultimately it's how we feel. And I've seen times where lab testing will show that someone's not sensitive to food, but actually they really are. And it's not until they test it on themselves do we really know that. So that's 2 ways to do it. But now let's dive into each of the foods. So the first one we want to look at is grains. Grains are harvested seed from grasses such as wheat, oats, rice, and corn. Some of these might look very familiar to you. So some of these can include, you'll find there's a lot of overlap with some of these. There's wheat, there's oats, both gluten and gluten-free. Even gluten-free foods you have to be very careful of, whether it's processed or not processed. There's barley and rye, which contain gluten. You have corn, though, and millet, which is gluten-free. You have amaranth, buckwheat, quinoa. Quinoa is also a very big one. Quinoa and brown rice are some of the biggest hidden stressors that I see with people. And I highlighted this because it is that important, how much it can cause inflammation for people. Now, most people would tell you quinoa is very good. It has a lot of good protein. Brown rice is very nutritious. It gives you long sustainable forms of energy, which is true. There is some nutritional properties to it. But what if those downsides overwhelm the positive benefits? Now you're going to be eating these things, and these internal fires in your body are going to be causing you to slow down. So these are the big ones. Like I said here, also gluten-free, oats, granola, those are other big ones. Porridge, if you have it in the morning, you want to be very careful of these. Even any types of cereal, they can be grains. If they are considered gluten-free, they could be causing you internal inflammation too. The next one is lectins. Now, these are proteins that are that bind to carbohydrates. And what they do is they act as an anti-nutrient with the same features that help plants in nature defend themselves, that will also cause problems for your digestive system. So you can kind of think of it like the shield that's around these lectins, you could call them, in nature, that kind of protects it from the outside world. And that's good in that environment, but it's not so good when you eat it and it goes into your system, because that's very hard for our digestive system to break down. And you can tell they look sort of the same, but different examples of this would be beans, peanuts, different forms of wheat. Again, we're seeing the wheat again. Sometimes tomatoes, potatoes as well. The next one is nightshade vegetables. So these are a family of flowering plants. While they contain a lot of nutrients, they can actually trigger inflammation and immune dysfunction. This is one of the big ones I see with people who have like achy joints, even brain fog. They feel anxious and they don't actually know why. They go to work out and it feels like a long time before they recover. They have sort of that hangover feeling where even if they get 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep, they still still don't feel like they have a lot of energy, and they need to drink coffee just to get some energy. Sometimes these people need to have 12 hours of sleep just to feel fully recharged. Well, the reason they need so much of that recovery and sleep is because their body's inflamed, whether from this food or other foods as well. So the big ones for these are potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. This is another one we want to remove temporarily. The next one we want to look at is a food called FODMAPs. And what they are is short-chain carbohydrates, also known as sugars, that the small intestine can absorb poorly, and it can also trigger inflammation. Now, they look like this, and again, you'll see some that might overlap some of the other ones. A big one, though, is vegetables. And so examples of these could be artichoke, asparagus, cabbage, garlic, leeks, okra, onions, shallots, snow peas, tomato sauces. Tomatoes is a really big one. Different forms of paste. So we'll see the tomato one popping up again and again for these different food groups. We can also see fruits, apples, apricots, cherries, dry fruit juices, grapes, mangoes, nectarines, peaches, pears, plums, watermelon. Also nuts is a really big one too, like pistachios, almonds, and hazelnuts. And like I said here, it is a lot. It seems between all these foods, it's a lot for your body to, remove all at once. And you're thinking, well, how am I going to actually live a quality type of life again? Well, the secret is this, is once you do this once, you really don't need to do it for the rest of your life. And think of it as an investment in yourself where you invest this time into yourself for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, and then it's going to pay you dividends down the road. And think about that opportunity cost. If you do not do this now, think about all the brain fog that you could have in the weeks, months, and years to come. And what could that be costing you in terms of money you're making in your business? Time you'd be spending with loved ones. What about if you could have your focus back and your energy back and you can finish an 8-hour workday in 5, 6 hours? Well, now you have an extra 2 hours per day. Multiply that by weeks, days, months, years. That is a lot of extra time on your hands to do whatever you want to do. So while this does seem indirect to your business, the money you're making, time with loved ones, stuff you want to do with hobbies, travel, freedom, etc., it is directly proportional in so many ways. So like I said, think of these as hidden stressors inside of your body that are causing inflammation. And I'm not going to dive into all the science right now. I want to keep this short, brief, simple, and easy for you to understand. But once you do this, you're going to see a net gain right away. I've seen it in so many different kinds of people, and all it takes is a couple weeks sometimes. Now, if you have any questions about this whatsoever, shoot me a message, comment down below, and let me know what your questions are and how I can help you. If you want to get a free assessment to see what are the exact foods that are possibly potentially slowing you down, book a call right down below and I'll give you a free assessment. On top of that, you can go to thesleepconsultant.com and we can look at all the different areas that you could be causing inflammation besides food and holding you back from living your true version 2.0. That's everything for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.